What's going on, everybody? My name is Amir Vera. I'm a writer at CNN Digital. This is my presentation to the Morehouse Advanced Writing class. Correct, Nicole?
That's correct.
Got you. All right, y'all. Oops. There we go. All right. So who am I? I'm a military brat. I grew up in Germany. I'm from the Richmond, VA area. That's where my mom retired. I went to VCU.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't meet many people from Virginia. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Got to, 12 down, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm from Newport News.
Got you. I used to work in the Virginia Beach area, which is later on this slide. But yeah, always glad to see fellow Virginians in here. But yeah, so I went to Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, where I majored in mass communications with emphasis in, back then it was called print and new media. Now I think they've combined everything and it's like digital and broadcast, which I don't understand why it's that way, but it is what it is. And then so my first job was at a very teeny tiny small newspaper in Petersburg, Virginia. It's called the Progress Index. And just to let you know how much the grind was there, I was one of 3 reporters, and we each covered 6 localities. Well, the entire paper covered 6 localities. So we each covered everything and anything under the sun in those 6 localities, in 2 localities each. So like that was education, going to school board meetings, local government, going to board of supervisors or city council meetings, and then criminal justice stuff. So going to court cases and everything like that. And then everything that falls in between that. So, we were very busy. I like to call my time at the Progress Index my grad school, except for I got paid for it. So my second job, I went on from there to the Virginian Pilot in Norfolk, Virginia. Kobe, I'm sure, knows where that is. And that was, at the time, the largest paper in Virginia. So I was the breaking news reporter there, and I worked on a lot of criminal justice stuff, and I was at a lot of crime scenes and everything like that. And then in 2017, I went to, Nicole mentioned this, I went to the NABJ convention in New Orleans, where I went to the CNN workshop, and I was only one of 2 print reporters there, and I was in the producers workshop. But basically, during the luncheon, they presented the CNN digital speakers. They presented people who worked at CNN Digital, and every single one of them worked at a newspaper. Like, first one was at a New York Times, second one was USA Today, third one was like at some other newspaper. And I was just like, wow, I wonder what made them make that jump. And I was asking all these questions during the workshop, and then they approached me afterwards, and the rest is history. So I've been here in Atlanta for the last 4 years, and I'm currently the NABJ Vice President of Digital. And prior to that, from 2020 to 2022, I was the Atlanta Association of Black Journalists President.
Could you also just, for context, share what NABJ is?
Yeah, NABJ is the National Association of Black Journalists, and it is an advocacy nonprofit organization that looks out for Black journalists like me and Nicole and everybody else in this chat. Not only do we advocate for journalists, like if there's things going on in your newsroom that make you uncomfortable and things like that, but we also, it's a networking opportunity for people, for Black people to meet people that they otherwise wouldn't have contact with. Perfect example is myself. Going to the CNN workshop, I never would have had access to those, higher up execs at CNN had it not been for NABJ. And AABJ and all the local chapters, they do the same thing. So you should definitely think about joining your local chapter, or if your school has a chapter. I know Morehouse is working to get one, or they can join. Yeah, Morehouse and Spelman are working to get one, but I know Clark Atlanta has one. So yeah, I would definitely recommend getting involved with NABJ if you haven't already. And they also provide, at the yearly convention, they provide, it's called the Student Media, my brain's going blank, Nicole, but it's called the Student Projects, there we go. And basically they put students to work, and you're either, on air TV talent, behind the scenes, being a producer, doing digital stuff, but you're essentially covering the convention and all the events that happen around the convention. And then that gets published in the NABJ Monitor, which is the newspaper for NABJ, and it gets posted on the video aspect gets posted online and everything like that. So you're getting real world experience while also networking with people. And so what got me interested in writing? I was always into writing. That was my favorite subject when I was in elementary school. I always liked writing stories and stuff like that. And then the end of my sophomore year of high school, going into my junior year, I had a friend. We all played sports together, but I had a friend who was like, yo, you should join the newspaper with me. And I was like, why would I do that? And then he was like, you can get in the sports game for free. And I was like, oh. And so I joined the newspaper, but I quickly fell in love with the craft as I was the sports reporter there. And then I was a sports editor the next year. And then, I went on to VCU, and everything I did extracurricular was journalism related. So I was always at the Student Media Center or doing stuff with like local Black media in the Richmond area. And so that's just how I got into writing. All right, so what's it like to work at CNN? So what I do, I'm a digital writer, and I write about everything and anything under the sun. So like that can include writing about the versus battles on Instagram that used to take place a couple years ago, back before you had to pay for it, to writing about, Ukraine stuff, to writing about weather and everything like that. And also in my current position, I also contextualize news events. So what does that mean? So like, basically that means like a news event happens, and then it's my job to figure out how we can contextualize that for our readers, essentially giving our readers a deeper look into this subject. So an example I have right here is after the insurrection that happened last January, when some people decided to storm the Capitol. I noticed that in videos they kept calling each other patriots, like, you're a patriot, yeah, we're patriots, blah blah blah. So I got curious about what exactly does it mean to be a patriot, and I called up Webster, I called up Merriam-Webster, I called up the Oxford Dictionary, and we just went through the history of what a patriot was and what it came to be, and how white nationalists essentially took over the word. And give me 1 second, y'all. All right, there it is. I had lost it. All right. Okay, and then another example I have right here is the anniversary of Trayvon Martin's death. It was the 10-year anniversary, and we didn't just want to do like a typical Trayvon died 10 years ago, here's what's happened since. But we wanted to put it into context. And, me and my editors, we realized that Trayvon's death really like kicked off a new movement. And a lot of people who were my age at the time, a lot of people in my age range came of age as activists. And so we decided to not only tell the story of, it was basically two stories happening at the same time. It was a story of how activism has evolved, and also how technology has evolved, and how the two came together to create the movement that we see now. So this is basically a timeline showing how technology has influenced activism and vice versa. And we're also telling it through the eyes of an activist, and her name was Deatra Jackson, and she's an activist based in Chicago. And that's what we did with this. And so my typical work day, let's try and put this, I'll put this right here. All right, so a typical work day, Nicole was just talking about newsletters. So I read 8 newsletters before I even, go. I was supposed to say come in, not come up, but I read 8 newsletters before I even come into work at CNN. And that includes the CNN newsletter, the 5 Things, New York Times morning newsletter, the Washington Post morning newsletter, the AP morning newsletter, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution newsletter, and 3 from Virginia. And that's the Virginia Pilot, the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and then there's the overall politics Virginia newsletter. I then go through social media to see if anything's trending, or if I've received any messages from group chats or anything like that. We'll talk about group chats later. Then I come into work, and honestly, not every day is the same. So honestly, don't know what's going to happen, because not every day is the same. Just an example of that. I'm a man of examples. Oh goodness. Hold on 1 second. All right. So I'm a man of examples. So this is what I worked on Tuesday. This story, and I worked on also the story about what's his name? Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, in his paternity case and stuff like that. And then keeps clicking. And then also the Texas storms. And then Wednesday I came in thinking I was going to be working on something else, and goodness, what is going on with this? And then I ended up working on I ended up doing our live blog for the storms running across the Southeast in Texas. So crazy day yesterday. And then I actually got to work on some long-term stuff later on. So as far as writing goes, so, again, Nicole and I talked in the beginning about like digital, print, and TV writing. There's really like they're all kind of melding together because, you know, obviously print reporters write, TV folks are not starting, but they've been writing, like some copy and paste their scripts, some create a new digital article and stuff like that. And then obviously in digital where I work, we're writing too. So when it comes to digital, you want to get straight to the point in the top 3 graphs. And the reason for that being I can't see any of y'all, but you know, how many of you are ever like, you get a push notification and you're scrolling through your phone and like, you know, something interests you. Do you read that entire story? I'm just going to be confident and say you probably don't. So you're probably going to read like the first 3 graphs. And if it doesn't get to the point, you're just going to be like, all right, back to Instagram, back to TikTok, whatever. And so you want to catch the reader and you want to keep them. So there's a really like creative way in doing that. And this is an example of digital writing. And by the way, so with these 3 examples, I use the same story for all 3 examples. So like this is the story I just showed y'all about the Florida man being indicted for killing the Daytona Beach couple. And like in these top 3 graphs, you just get straight to the point. It's real conversational. I'll give y'all a couple seconds to read, but yeah, just read the first 3 graphs right here. I highlighted it for you. And so, you know, I understand that, and all these apps and stuff I'll explain later, but I understand that readers are probably just going to read the first 3, 4 graphs that I have. And then if there's a video at the top, they're probably going to read the first 2 graphs. That's just the way digital works. And then so traditional print, this is from the Daytona Beach News Journal. Look and see how different it is and how packed those paragraphs are as compared to this one. Look how, you know, these paragraphs are really short, minus the middle one, but these paragraphs are really short, straight to the point. A lot more context here. And see, even they have an ad after or a picture after the first 3 graphs. So I'll let y'all read that real quick.
Kind of gruesome, huh?
Yeah, this was a pretty crazy story.
Like they said, random. It's just weird.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always Florida where crimes like this happen.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all
Always
Florida man, Florida woman. We've heard of those stories. But yeah, if you know, when you're looking at traditional print writing and stuff like that, it can be straight to the point, but normally there's normally dedicated readers. So writers have more room to be more narrative in their writing, and they can write a bit more longer as opposed to digital and traditional broadcast. And then so this is a TV article of the same article. And I watched the video, and this is not a copy and paste job from their script. I've seen that many a times where reporters will literally just copy and paste their script in here and maybe clean it up a little, but that's not what they did here, thankfully. So it's the first 3 graphs right here. Y'all wanted to see a picture of the couple too.
Why this couple?
We don't know. It was a random attack, as he said, as all 3 of those articles have said. But I did want to have like a little mini discussion about that before I move on. Like, what types of what different like what did you guys notice about the different styles of writing?
One thing I noticed is just, you know, within the first couple of paragraphs, the order might be slightly different, but as far as like, you know, the critical details are all pretty much the same. Giving you the name, the crime, when it happened, and like when officials like announced everything. Mm-hmm. So like even though there was a variation, they all still kind of told you the same thing in their leads.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I also think that there's, you know, for all 3 of them, there was a relative brevity to them all. Something we're learning a lot in class right now is the importance of brevity. And I think there's a certain guideline to having an effective lead. So the things that Tito mentioned about what they put in that lead was what they needed to make sure that the people or the reader got the information that they needed out of it, well, while still getting people to read that part of the article.
Anybody else? Cool. Make sure. All right. So when it comes to writing, how can you improve your writing? Read. That's the biggest thing I have to tell all of you. Read. Find a writer that you like or a subject matter that you like. Like for me, example, I like reading about just like complex racial issues, history, stuff that's happening in Germany because I grew up there. And so that's all the stuff that I read. And that it, you know, those are just cool articles for me to read. So if you have anything, and human interest stories, those also interest me. But like I'm always reading those. So that kind of affects how I write about stuff when I have the opportunity to write in a narrative sense. Subscribe to newsletters, all the newsletters that I just mentioned, and I can show you all. So this is the New York Times newsletter that I subscribe to, and I don't read this whole thing, but I usually just read the top news of the day. It's usually like 3 stories. If these headlines catch my attention, I'll read I might just skim those, and then I read all of these. They have world news, then they have US news, and you know, if you want to scroll down, they have politics, business, we'll view the entire message. They have politics, business, technology. They should have sports. Yeah, they got sports. Arts, what's happening in New York, because it is the New York Times, fashion and style, and obituaries and opinion. And then you got, one second. And then you got the Washington Post also has a newsletter. This is their newsletter. Theirs is more so organized by like news and opinion. So like it starts up at the top with news, then it goes to opinions, then more news. All right. And I also subscribe to the AP. They have a good one. There's, I think they do this because they know they're AP, but they're like, you notice that the New York Times and the Washington Post, also CNN, like their summaries are always complete sentences. AP is just like, let's just slap our lead in there, and if it catches people, they'll read more. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So this is theirs. And then you got CNN's 5 Things, of course. I read these. And, you know, they do the 5 things, and then they got the breakfast browse, and then quotes of the day and stuff like that. There's another one that I read. And then this is one, it's just from Virginia. It was Kobe, right? That was from Virginia. So this is the one I read from Virginia. Yeah, luckily they started putting in the top of the news, because it used to just be the full report. And if you look at the mouse right here, yeah, you could be on there for like 20, 30 minutes. So yeah, so read newsletters. It also helps to write every day. So like, you know, you don't have to journal, you know, being like, you don't have to journal every day or do some Dear Diary type stuff. But like, if something significant happens in your life, or like you notice a pattern of things that happen in your life, or even if something good happens in your life, you know, write it down, write how you feel about it and stuff like that. That also helps with your writing, because writing is a really emotional art, whether you like to think that or not. But like, you know, when you read people's stories or their articles or anything like that, usually you start to read their voice. So the more emotion you can put into your writing, the better your voice will be. But again, if you want to just improve your writing, read. I can't emphasize that enough. Just read books, read articles, read everything that you can. And then just some characteristics of a good journalist: they read. Again, I can't emphasize that enough. Read. And so they also see a story in quite literally everything: groups, chats, conversations with friends, and conversations with parents. Again, I'm a big man on examples. So I'll give you this example. Here. Where did that go? All right. So where did this story come from? So this is a perfect example of group chats and everything like that. I got another example of that too. What was it called? Selective service. Amir here, selective Service draft. All right, so these two examples are examples of how group chats helped me pitch stories. So first, this one. I got a message from a friend like late at night, and he was just like, "Yo, did you see this? Blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's crazy!" So we're just responding to each other, and then I realized like, "Yo, this could be a story." And I pitch it to my editor, and we're going back and forth, and they're like, "Oh, we write these stories all the time," and I'm just like, "No, this is different." He said Martin Luther. So if you don't know about this, this meteorologist, he had accidentally, and it was truly an accident, he stumbled over his words and he ended up saying Martin Luther Coon Park instead of Martin Luther King Park. And they caught it on air. And then my editor, like after going back and forth, my editor was like, "If you can find enough information for me, go on ahead." So at the time, the TV station had gone on video with the news director, made a statement, and I was like, boom, we got a statement from them. Then the meteorologist himself had been on Facebook Live like hours before explaining what happened. Boom, you got something from him. And then yeah, you just had reaction from celebrities and stuff like that. This is his Facebook Live video. And this just blew up. So that's just something I'm really proud of. And then this one, as I told you, I'm a military brat. So like, I don't know if you all remember the beginning of 2020, it seems like it was 40 years ago, but it was only 2. So they, like the US had killed like a top Iranian official and stuff like that. And then, people were gearing up and they were sending troops over there. And all my friends were like, "Oh my God, are they going to reinstate the draft? Blah, blah, blah." And I was like, that's not how that works. You don't need to worry. And then I just wanted to go to the Selective Service website so I could show them how the draft works. And the site wasn't loading. It wasn't loading on my phone. And I was like, that's weird. And so I went to the office and I tried to look at it online on a desktop. The site wasn't working. And I was like, that's super weird. So then I went to Twitter and the Selective Service, they tweeted this: "Due to the spread of misinformation, our website is experiencing high traffic volumes at this time." So the site crashed because there were so many people wanting to look up what was going on with the draft and stuff like that. And so I ended up writing this story and also obviously explaining what the draft is and the history of it and everything like that. Here we go. And but back to the characteristics of a good journalist. Yeah, so just know that there's a story in everything. Like in any conversation that you have, if there's a reaction to it, just know that you're probably not the only one that's having a reaction to it. They're also always pitching stories, so that goes back to the finding a story and everything. If you can always find a story and everything, you keep your ears, your nose, your eyes to the streets and everything like that. There's always a story out there, and just pitch them. Even if you get 1,000 no's, you're gonna get like at least 1 yes. So just keep pitching stories, keep finding stories, keep looking for stories. Another good quality of a good journalist is that they know how to collaborate. Journalism is like no matter what level you're at, if you're at national, local, or anything like that, if you're in a leadership position, if you're a reporter, a producer, or anything like that, it's a big collaborative experience. So if you're a hard person to work with, or you're one of those people in a group project that either doesn't do the work, that just takes over for people, you're not gonna make it far in this field, because you got to be able to collaborate with people. I collaborate with people on a daily basis, so it's a great experience. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it is, depends on what's happening. But the biggest thing I would say that makes a good journalist is that they know how to learn and they know how to ask for help. They are always willing to learn. They're always looking to learn, because that's what journalism is for real. Like, I'm always learning stuff. I'm learning new, that was my Slack notification, but I'm learning new stuff all the time. Let me pause this before it goes off again. Pause notifications. All right. So yeah, I'm always willing to learn stuff, and I'm always willing to ask for help. If I don't know something, I'm willing to admit when I don't know something. Obviously, I'm gonna, do as much as I can to find stuff out, but like if I don't know it, I'm gonna ask for help. So always remember that. Always be willing to learn, always be willing to ask for help. And then as far as tips for writing, how you get started, you need to figure out what the main theme or the point is of your story. And once you find that, that's usually how you can craft your headline and your lead, and then, what info to include and who to interview. So the way I always explain this to students is to think of a story like you're shooting a movie. Like think of even the longest movies, like that is carefully edited to the point where you have whatever movie is in front of you. If they included every scene they shot, every extra and actor that I included in the movie. The movies would be like 8-9 hours long. Nobody got time to watch an 8-9 hour movie. And so you don't have to include, when it comes to stories, you don't have to include every quote, every sense, smell, sight that you see or everything like that. You need to just get straight to the point. And that comes with like reading comprehension and understanding what your story is really about. And then from there, you can find out who to interview based on the subject matter. And as far as writing under, Nicole asked me to tell you about writing under deadline and pressure and stuff. Writing under deadline and under deadline pressure and stuff like that. Basically, when it comes to breaking news and stuff like that, you just need to stop and breathe and realize that a lot is going on, because a lot of people get overwhelmed by the rush of information. But if you're working with others, which goes back to the teamwork thing, you need to have faith in your team. Have faith in your editors, have faith in like your fellow reporters and stuff like that, and it'll be easier to get the job done. Cool. All right, hold on 1 second. And then just some cool tools to use. I use TweetDeck. You can find that right here. This is what TweetDeck looks like. TweetDeck looks like. So I have my home feed. This is Data Miner, which I'll get to in a second. I have my national news, my sports news, my Atlanta news, my Hampton Roads news, my overall Virginia news, and then just like the different NABJ conventions that I've gone to. So, I find that TweetDeck is a great tool to use, especially during breaking news, during award shows, during sporting events, especially. It's just, I love it so much. And then Facebook, like making a Facebook page for yourself, like you start posting your stories and stuff, then you can, you can look at analytics through there. Instagram is also obviously a good tool to use. I don't use my Instagram for news, but a lot of people do. Chartbeat, which is right here. I have examples of that, but I forget that I was going to be home today and not in the office. So Chartbeat is essentially an app that helps you to, let me look real quick. It helps you track stories and analytics of a story. So like this is CNN's Chartbeat, for example. I forget if individual people can sign up for Chartbeat or if you have to be a part of an organization, but basically you can look at, the stories that are trending in real time. Every newsroom that I've been in, this is on a giant screen in the middle of the newsroom. So you know what the top story is and how it's doing. And this is the number of people that are on the story and stuff like that. But then to go a further level, you can also activate it on certain web pages. So I have Chartbeat activated on CNN's website. And so you can tell how many people are on the story right now, how long they're staying on the page. And then this beautiful thing right here in the lower left-hand corner tells you how many people have read up to this point. So 79% of readers that came to this page read up to this point. And look what happens when I scroll down. It goes down. Like I told y'all, those first 3 paragraphs, they matter. And look at that, look at that, look at that. This isn't even that long of a story, and look at those numbers going down. So only 20% of the readers that came to this story read to this point. So yeah, this is just another example of how, writing to the point and writing concisely is really helpful. And Data Miner is essentially just I believe you have to be through a news organization in order to use Data Miner, but Data Miner, it helps like basically track whatever interests you have on social media. And it goes through, I believe it goes through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And so I have that on my TweetDeck because this is all Data Miner stuff. And usually I have it for news and breaking news and stuff like that. And Data Miner usually picks up stuff, and that's how some big news organizations are able to like catch news right as it happens, because CNN and a lot of local TV stations have a news gathering team. So a lot of those teams have Data Miner. And this is, again, I thought I was going to be in the office today, so this is just a screenshot of my of my TweetDeck from yesterday. And then as I told you, this is how high it can get. It could get even higher than that. Let's look at the homepage real quick. CNN's homepage. See how many people are on that right now. It'll pop up. So yeah, the numbers, they can get pretty high. I've seen this get to like 100,000, 200,000. It gets pretty crazy. And then so closing thoughts, read. Again, I have to emphasize that. Read, subscribe to newsletters, and then just work on building your voice. Also, you can contact me. I'm always down to help students and stuff like that. You can contact me on Twitter at the Amir Vera, or you can email me amirvera@gmail.com. So now we can just, I don't know how much time you guys have left, but we can just, have an open discussion, ask questions and stuff like that.
We have until 1:15 or until people don't have questions. First of all, thank you for that.
Oh, no problem.
Second of all, read.
Yes. Yes.
I feel a little guilty because I know that, and I don't think I've stressed that enough in this class, how you need to be reading all the time. And I should show you all. I should take a picture, just take it to class one day and show you all the wall of books that I have. Because I agree with that. I'm always reading, and it just helps them. It not only is informative, it just helps you figure out how to compose your writing.
Yep. And I also I always have this email chain. It's called Interesting Reads. So like when I'm going through these newsletters and a headline catches me, I copy and paste it and I email it to myself and I put it on this long list. And sometimes that list can get backed up. So there's been times where like my Interesting Reads has gone back like 2-3 months, and I'm like, dang, I need to catch up on my reading. But yeah, right now I'm pretty caught up. There's like 4 stories in the queue, but yeah.
You've got a couple of questions here. Why don't we start with Will?
Hello, thanks for joining us today. I just had a question about
Wait, hold up. Before you begin, Will,
sorry.
I like to do this with students. When you ask a question, just say who you are, what your major is, what year you are.
Will Clay, Jr., English major, sports journalism minor from St. Louis, by way of now I live in Nova, Alexandria, Virginia. So I just had a question about NABJ. Do you think it's necessary? It sounds pretty necessary to join, and how can we go about that? And then about your daily schedule. I know you said you go into work, but do you ever get to work from home since you're digital?
So I asked the first question about NABJ, and you asked ask the NABJ question again. I'm sorry.
Is it necessary to join? It sounds like it. And
yeah, I would
how can we go about doing that?
I would say as Black, NABJ is not the only minority journalism organization out there. There's also AJA, Asian American Journalists Association, NAHJ, National Association of Hispanic Journalists. There's an LGBTQ one, I think it's NLGJA. And then there's a Native American one, and then there's one specifically for women. But yes, as a minority, as a Black person specifically, I would definitely say to join NABJ. You can do that by going to NABJ's website. And there's also local chapters too. So you can look up local chapters. Give me 1 second.
We've had students join too. There's a student rate. It's cheaper than like if I was trying to join.
I just joined now.
$40, I believe.
Yeah, it's $40. I just joined last week. Yeah. Well, if you need help, I can help you with that.
I'm gonna put it in the chat. I'm gonna put a link in the chat. But yeah, you can go here and it tells you the different rates and everything like that. Yeah, like I said, I believe students are 40. Yeah, it is. The student membership is 40, and these are annual memberships. It's not monthly dues. It's annual. So you can do that. And then as far as my daily schedule, like I said, I read newsletters. I go into work. We usually have a meeting like an hour and a half after I get in. I get in at 2. There's a 3:30 meeting, a digital meeting through the whole company, just so everybody knows what's going on. And then I'm usually assigned my stories by the time I come in. And I'm either researching that story, looking into things to do, or sometimes the stories just come at me like rapid fire, like, hey, can you update this? Hey, can you start this? Hey, can you do this for the overnight team and stuff like that? It can get pretty crazy. Yesterday was pretty crazy. Yeah, those I can't really say what a typical day is. I could tell you from 2 to 6 is usually there's a lot going on because the world is still at work and there's a lot going on and stuff like that. And then from 6 to 10, my shift ends at 10:30. I don't like to use the S word, which is slow, because in newsrooms you'll learn this when you enter the industry. That's a jinx word. So you say anything is slow, then everything happens at once. So yeah, I say steady instead. So things get pretty steady from like 6 to 10:30. But crazy things happened then too, because Ukraine happened at 11 p.m. at night. So yeah, things can get pretty crazy. Answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, no problem. And I guess we can go with I'm just looking at I have two screens. I guess we can go with Andy next.
I think you're on mute, Andy.
I am, my fault. How you doing? My name is Andy Harris. I'm a junior communication studies major and journalism and sports minor from Los Angeles, California, by way of the Bronx, New York. So my question is centered towards, your transition from being a regular individual to a person working in journalism. Well, first I want to talk about, Slack notifications, because I'm starting to understand that feeling. I think you mentioned pausing your Slack notifications, because now I enter the WABE news here in Atlanta, and yeah, I get Slack notifications a lot. So I know I'm starting to understand how that feels. So that definitely hit a note. But no, my question is, about your transition from, transition into journalism. What would you say is the biggest transition, biggest switch from being, say, a reader of, say, a CNN or a reader of certain news outlets to working for one?
I would say it's knowing the power of your voice and the power of just the stories that you put out there, because the media as a whole, not just journalism, but entertainment, everything like that, like words are extremely powerful, and you realize that when you start to make mistakes. So like, I'm not perfect, I've made mistakes before, and like when you're at CNN, the reach is so wide, but not like millions of people are viewing the story. So if you make a mistake, millions of people see the story, and if you make a mistake about someone, like, again, millions of people see that, and you're creating not public, but you're creating perception of a person or an event or anything like that. So you have to be really careful with that. That's not only just at CNN or national outlets, but that's also in local journalism too. You work at a TV station and you say something wrong on air, that's a whole entire community that just believes what you just said. Or like you put something out in a newspaper and it makes front page news, and you have a mistake in that story, that's like 10,000 to 100,000 people that have seen that. So like you really need to, it really hit me once I started, like I think I did a story like in my first job, I think I did a story about bus drivers and stuff like that. And they were just so thankful that I was able to highlight the issues that they were having, because I don't know if y'all keep up with education news, but bus drivers are always having issues. And so they were like, wow, we never had anybody take our issues seriously. So just know that, like, outside of mistakes, like the power of your voice and you giving a voice to those people is I already said powerful, but it's really powerful to do that for people, and to just like put that reach out there, and give them that exposure and stuff like that, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on like behind the scenes in government, behind the scenes in education, behind the scenes in our judicial and criminal justice system that people just don't talk about because they don't know who to talk to. So it's really understanding the importance of your role as a journalist. That's what I had to get together in my transition from just being like a reader to being someone actually producing the news.
Appreciate that. Like I don't want to take up too much time, but I remember like one of the first times I had gotten to go somewhere for my my job or internship was I went to the Atlanta, excuse me, I went to the Atlanta Community Food Bank, and they had me, and the mayor actually showed up, and so the people at the food bank were really happy to see somebody from the news taking interest in there. There were only, I think, two outlets, someone else's, and then WABE's, thanks courtesy of myself. And so they were, they were just like really excited to see me there and see that I was playing out a story for them. They thought I was, that was humbling for me. I was like, wow, I didn't know that I had that big of an impact.
Yep, you make a difference in people's lives every day, no matter how big or small. So just know that.
All right, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm real proud of you. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
Appreciate that, Professor.
Justin had his hand up like forever, but then he put it down. I don't know if he still have a question.
Oh no, it was mainly about NABG, but I do have one question. Let me get on camera first. Hold up. How you doing, sir? My name is Justin Darden. I'm a sophomore journalism major with a concentration in sports from Morehouse, Maryland. Um, so I will go ask you about NABJ because I do plan on going to their convention that my teacher sent in Vegas this summer.
Mhm.
So I do plan on going there. I was going to ask you just about the event really because I don't really know what to expect. Like, what should I expect going to like an event like that if you ever been?
Yeah, I've been. My first one was in 2016 in DC. Just gonna ask Nicole. What was your first one, Nicole?
Way back in the day, long before 2016. I might age myself. I think mine was like 20.
I need to put you on the spot, but
I think I was 2003, 2004.
okay, got you. Yeah, my first one was I wasn't a college student in 2016, so but yeah, that was my first one. The big thing that you need to know, and that a lot of people don't know, is there's not a dress code, but just know you should go there like in the sense like having the mentality that you're at a job interview. So you're not going to wear like a button up and slacks to a job interview. You need to be like dressed to the nines, like your Sunday best basically. I think that's the biggest thing that they don't tell people, because before 2016, I'd say like a month or 2 weeks before the convention, I didn't know this, and then like the NABJ chapter I was in Hampton Roads, they were like, oh, let's have an NABJ boot camp, this is what you need to know. And I kept asking about the dress code and nobody would address it. And then I was like, oh, all right. Yeah, I need to be in suit and tie the whole time. So that's the biggest thing. Second is be open to networking with people. And networking isn't just like walking up to people that you want to know, walking up to big shots you want to know. Because there's a lot of people at NBJ. You're going to see celebrities, big time, like on-air correspondents, like executive editors, again, that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. But don't just talk to them, talk to, you treat it like making friends. Like you all remember like when you were college freshmen and you're just open to meeting everybody and stuff like that. That's how you need to treat every day at NABJ, right? And so don't turn down people because they work at a certain place, or don't go up to people just because they work at a certain place, because you never know where people are going to end up. I started at NABJ working at the Virginian Pilot. I was a breaking news reporter and stuff like that. And look at me today. So like, you never know where people are going to end up, and people remember how you treat them at NABJ. I can't tell you how many higher ups at NABJ, or like how many like regular members would be like, I remember when so-and-so treated me this way and blah, 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 blah. Or I remember how nice so-and-so was and how they, they mentored me afterwards and they responded to my emails and stuff like that. I would recommend doing that. And then also just on the social media front, I do it on Twitter. I don't do it so much on Instagram, but like when I add people, I make a list on Twitter of the people that I met at NABJ. So if the lists are public. So if you go on my Twitter list right now, I believe it goes all the way back to 2016. Let me look. Can you look at my list? I don't think you can. Well, I forget how to do it. I won't try to figure it out now. But list. There we go. So yeah, my public list, so it goes all the way back to like, I got NABJ 21, NABJ 2020, 19, 17, and then 16. So, I just create those lists, but don't be afraid to add people on Instagram, Twitter, and stuff like that. And even though, some people may view it as old fashioned, always have a card with you. Like, people can forget your name, your face, and stuff like that. But if they got a card, they put it in their jacket, they put it in their purse, they're gonna empty out that bag and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember meeting blah, 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 blah. So, just remember to have those on you.
Gotcha.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
And then Sean has a question. So Justin, I want to stress the fact that the reason people are there are for African Americans, right? So they're looking to fill their newsrooms, their property, their jobs, their positions, their leadership boards, all of that with Black people. That's why they came. And oftentimes they don't know how to put Black people in the pipeline, specifically something so specific like a Black journalist. So they come to NABJ. And right. I've met many a journalist who shared some of the stories, like Amir said, that somebody, they were engaged and participating, or they met someone at an after party, or they went up to a booth and they had a good conversation. I personally was asked to take a job that I did not take because I moderated a panel and they liked what I said about leadership and they asked me to be a leader in the newsroom. So people just keep in mind that people are there for you, right? They're there to find someone, quite frankly, that can do what they need to do, but also fit your profile.
Yeah. That's very, very true. And then also just because there's like, there's like receptions and parties and stuff like that. Don't be getting too wild out there. I have to tell students that all the time, but I feel like that what Nicole said and what I'm saying right now definitely needs to be said. Like they're there for you, but also remember this is a very professional environment. So even if you're at a party or, you're in the career center, like just conduct yourself so that, always not pretend, but like I always have that mindset like, yo, this is a job interview. This entire week is a job interview. So just remember that.
Thank you. Thank both of y'all. Actually. Thank you.
No problem.
Sean?
How's it going, Amir? My name is Sean Johnson. I'm a junior communication studies major with a minor in journalism from Evanston, Illinois. And after kind of hearing you talk a little bit about your journey in the journalism field and, attaining a desired job, at CNN, my only question to you was like, what are some personal goals you have that you're looking forward to accomplishing in your field of journalism moving forward that pretty much keep you motivated to continue striving? Because I know a lot of people at other journalism majors may have a desired career to pursue with CNN or hope to get a job with CNN. So like, what kind of keeps you motivated? What are you looking to accomplish in the future?
So two things to that. One, I'll say I want to make it clear because whenever I talk to students and I tell them I work at CNN, they're like, "Oh, you accomplished your dreams and blah blah blah." I never had any aspirations to work at CNN. I always wanted to. My ultimate goal when I got out of college was to work at a large metropolitan newspaper, and I did that. I did that by the time I was 24, and I remember making it to the Virginian Pilot, which again was the largest paper in Virginia at the time. And I was just like, I remember telling editors, which I shouldn't have at the time, but I was just like, oh, I'm gonna be here for 5 years. I want to, this is where I plan to like plant roots and blah, blah, blah. And then CNN came along. So what keeps me motivated is I didn't do sports in college, but like, I'm always thinking in like the mind of the athlete and stuff like that. And, like your basketball players, your football players, your track stars and stuff like that. They don't get complacent with winning a couple gold medals and stuff like that. Like they keep wanting to get better and get more gold medals. And then, somebody better comes along and it pushes them to be better. So that's how it is with me. Like, yeah, I'm at the one of the top news agencies in the world, but like, I still have competition with my fellow writers. I can't get complacent. Like, that Trayvon Martin story was like the last, that was the last like big project that I did. And that was in February. So like to people from the outside looking in, they're like, oh man, you did that story in February. That was great, blah, blah, blah. In my office, it's like, okay, so what are you working on now? So you can't get complacent with stuff like that. And that's what keeps me going for real. It's like, a lot of people, they'll do that stuff and then you don't hear from them for like 6 months. At CNN, it's always like the main question at CNN and even other newsrooms that I've been in, and I'm sure this happened to Nicole too, is like editors, writers, your colleagues, everything like that. They're always coming to your desk and like, so what are you working on? And you never ever want to say, oh, nothing. I'm just sitting here, blah, blah, blah. Like you always want to have something in your head or something that you're looking at, something that you're researching and stuff like that. So that's what keeps me going. My coworkers keep me going, but also just like not wanting to be complacent keeps me going. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I want to go back to, was that Kobe? Was that you who said you had replied to CNN a few times? I don't remember if that was you, but I will say a lot of times people get in it, at least my experience is the relationships that they built or they got noticed or they engaged with someone, and it wasn't like a completely blind application process. So that's why I really like that Amir's kind of talking about NABJ, but a way to just connect with somebody. The way I got into CNN was I don't know if I shared that with you all, but there was a job fair at school. I went to the University of Georgia, And I met with the recruiter, but it didn't stick. You know, he had a long line. And then the recruiter came to the soda machine at the end of the day and needed $1 and didn't have it. Like his dollar didn't work.
And you had that dollar, boom.
I had that dollar. And I was like, boom, I got you. It's fine. And I didn't even think about it too much because I was like, this dude's not gonna remember me. He got that $1 and he got that Coke and he went, wait a minute. Did I get your card? Actually, we should follow, we should stay in touch. That it was just real engagement. And even though I had talked to him a couple hours before, talking about I was a great student, I had this point, GPA, all that stuff, it was just real engagement. So I do like the idea of if NABJ you know, can be your spontaneous moment, you be purposeful and talk to the people that you feel that might help you stand out. But, you know, and I also mentioned that you guys met my twin who also worked at CNN, by the way. And I think she applied 3 times before she got into CNN. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And then, you know, I was talking about the negative aspects too, but like I talked about some of the negative aspects of like people just coming up to you, just wanting to talk to you and stuff like that. But Nicole hit it on the head, like just those real honest interactions, like they mean a lot to people, because I can't tell y'all how many students have come up to me, and students and people come up to me and they're like, oh man, you work at CNN? So how'd you get there? What do you like to do? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want to talk about that. like at NABJ, like I just want to let loose, like hang out with people and network, fellowship, stuff like that. And like the most meaningful relationships that I built from NABJ are like people that like I met at like the sports task force party, or people that I met at the bar afterwards. $1 and a dream, that's funny. But like people that I met at the bar afterwards and just having like real conversations and stuff like that. And like later down the road, it hasn't happened for me, but I've seen it happen for others. Like, you know, so-and-so that you met and that, you know, you're texting, y'all are sharing memes and stuff like that. That person might become like a lead editor somewhere or like in a leadership position somewhere. And they're like, man, I need people that I could trust around me. And then they're like, man, I remember working with, you know, Nicole, working with Amir. Like, I really like working with them. They're going to bring you on. So it's like, you know, things like that, or you can be that person for somebody. And I was talking the other day, I met with members of the Washington Association of Black Journalists, but like, just like the position that Nicole and I are in, like when you guys get to our positions and stuff like that, just remember the things that you were missing from your mentors and provide that for students or, you know, early career journalists in the future. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions do you have? Well, if the room is quiet, I'll take that as it's kind of you're pensive and you're thinking about everything that was dropped on you.
We did talk about a lot of knowledge.
If you heard nothing else, read, apparently.
Right. Keep reading. Keep reading.
Right. Okay. Well, we can end it a little bit early. I just want to thank you, Amir, for taking the time, because I know that you've got a lot on your plate. And you know, I asked you this, and you all should know that he quickly said yes. Like I don't even think I finished hitting the send button. And he said yes. So this, you know, I hope you feel that he's certainly here for you and your development, your growth, and the support of you. So thank you, Amir, for that. I also wanted to mention a little side note for you all. I was supposed to talk about a scholarship today, and I feel like maybe I just ran out a little bit of time, but please check my email. So today I will follow up with you with a scholarship that will I think it'll be like 5 scholarships that will equal 16,000. And it's specifically for those who are journalism major or minors and who have done well in those classes, and done well meaning that you've gotten a C or higher in your classes and you perform well. So check that out. Free money. So yeah, free money.
I wanted to provide one more link for y'all. You could also, we talked about joining NABJ, but there's also a very active local chapter here, AABJ. And so you guys should think about joining. They're always hosting events and stuff too. And it's one of the premier chapters local chapters in NABJ. My picture's still on there, so hopefully they change it soon, but I'm no longer the president. But yeah, AABJ does the exact same thing that NABJ does, but on a local scale. And there's 2 opportunities for students to, you know, get real world experience. There's the Byline, which is the monthly newsletter that goes out for AABJ, and oftentimes there's usually freelancers and students that work on that. So that's an opportunity for y'all to get clips. Second is the TV show. I believe AABJ is the only local NABJ chapter with an actual TV show. It's called In Contact. And so usually students are working on there as like producers or sometimes on air and things like that. So, if you have those aspirations, like, contact AABJ, because they're still running both of those activities for students and freelancers. So just keep that in mind.
Good. I like that. I also want to just speak. I know I keep talking about Kobe, but he said a lot. Another thing I want to point out is if the CNN thing isn't working out, or anything you all are working on isn't working out in the timing that you want at the time, don't be afraid to look at other outlets. Because a lot of times, for example, I worked at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The interns there had to have experience at other outlets before they even would entertain them. Did they post that? No. But the truth of the matter is they got that feedback a lot. And so, like, for example, I shared the internship with you with Axios and all of that, build up your resume. And then I think you'll even be more competitive for some of the places and the institutions that you want to work at. So just that thought.
And we got 10 minutes left too. Y'all, you said 1:15, right? I didn't tell the story during, but I always tell college students this story. So I'm gonna make sure to tell y'all this story. It's not long, but I was really big-headed in college, like as big-headed as you can get. I had like 3 internships, 2 of those being like, I guess you can call them big internships and stuff like that. One was Dow Jones. The other one was at the local TV station, the WTVR, which is the Richmond, CBS affiliate. And so like my first internship, which ended up being my first job, just remember that. My first internship was at the Progress Index. And I remember my high school journalism teacher's like, you don't have an internship yet? And I'm like, I don't know where to go. And he's like, try to Progress Index. And I walked into the called them. And I was like, hey, do y'all have internships? And they're like, yeah, but we don't pay. We could, that's how small this operation is. Yeah, but we don't pay. We can give you a summer internship. You come in twice a week and, you'll just work for us and stuff like that. We'll give it to you for credit. And I was like, all right, cool. By the end of that internship, they liked what I did so much that they offered me a part-time job. And if you're not familiar with the Richmond, Virginia, Petersburg area, Petersburg is 30 minutes south of Richmond. So I ain't nothing to hop on the highway and, go work there like on the weekends and stuff. But 20-year-old me at the time, they offered me that, and me thinking in my head, I was like, I'm gonna be at the Washington Post or like CNN, or I'm gonna be at some big paper. This paper is too small for me. I'm not gonna do that. And I turned it down. I turned down a part-time job. And so like 2 years later, fast forward, I started looking for jobs my October of my senior year. And like that big head that I had quickly got deflated, because when I started looking for jobs, it was either you don't have enough experience, we need someone right now, we can't wait till you graduate. I got ghosted. And it was all that from like October until April of my senior year. And I remember during my TV internship, there was another student that I was with, and I saw her, she ended her internship early. And I was just like, yo, where you been? I haven't seen you. And she's like, oh, I'm working at the Progress Index. And I was like, they didn't tell me they had job openings. So like, just imagine how humbling it is, like me telling them no 2 years ago, and then me kind of groveling back and being like, yo, do y'all have a job opening and stuff like that? Luckily they did. I started the Monday after I graduated and stuff like that. And I'll never forget that editor. He sat me down. He's like, look, I know you don't want to be here. I understand this is a very small operation, but when I tell you that the experience that you gain from here will it'll be beneficial to you. Like all I need from you is like, give me 2 years. And I was like, all right. And, I did work there for 2 years. And so that story, I tell college students that to tell them to emphasize the point to Nicole, like, don't think about just going to big places. Like the small places need help too. And you can get as much information, get as much experience as you can from the small places. And that'll help prepare you for the big places that you want to go to. So I just wanted to tell that story. Don't get big headed. Don't be willing to work wherever and however. So yeah.
It's a great story.
Yeah. I will never forget that time period. So yeah. That's why I'm so humble now. Right. That's why I'm so humble now. People are like, oh man, you work at CNN? I'm like, yeah, you knew where I came from. Like I remember.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I'll just leave it there because we'd be here for an hour. Okay, what questions do you all have? Any other questions, thoughts? About the class, about what we learned today, or any assignments or anything? Okay, so just my question to you, we know that newsletter assignments due April 8th. I will recap this like I always recap, and give you an idea of what's to come. Just a FYI, we will not meet at all Zoom, in person or in Zoom next week, and I'll explain why. And then, yeah, if you guys read my note, you'll see what I'm talking about with scholarships, and make sure you take a look at that later today or early tomorrow, whenever I get a chance to share it with you. So if there's no more, then thank you, Amir, and I will see you all later.
Got you. And remember to hit me up if y'all have any questions or anything like that.
I'll share your info in the email.
All right, cool. You guys have a good rest of the day.
All right.
I was just about to.
Okay.
You
All
said
right, thank you.
Oh wait, I didn't leave yet. So what was the question?
no. I was just about to ask to Professor send your info again because I missed it at the end of your presentation.
Oh yeah. She'll send it to y'all.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No problem.
Bye.
Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one. Thank you.